What's up everyone? So the main focus for today's video is the absolutely forever gorgeous death's head hawk moth. Beautiful moths, and today I'm going to be talking about how to rear them and how to breed the moth as well, how to look after your pet death's head hawk moth. But before we get on to that, there's something I would like to say. So with the festive season coming up, not quite around the corner, a few more miles down the road, festive season's nearly here, and it's time to start buying gifts for your loved ones or for yourself. After all, no one's going to judge you if you buy Christmas gifts for yourself. And if moths and butterflies is your passion or your loved one's passion, then there's no better gift to get for them than this absolutely amazing calendar. This is Bart Coppens's 2026 Moth and Butterfly Lepidoptera calendar. If you don't know who Bart Coppens is, absolutely amazing YouTuber, based in the Netherlands, but also does moth trapping elsewhere in the world. In Brazil, catches some amazing species, also rears some incredibly rare and beautiful species of moths as well. Go check out his channel if you haven't already, and definitely drop a sub to him as well. But anyway, calendar here, modelled by another death's head hawk moth, very well there. This is Bart Coppens' calendar, and there's some absolutely beautiful photos inside. So already a very nice photo on the front. Look at that, garden tiger, my favourite moth. First page, January, absolutely beautiful. Fun facts every day as well. Might not be able to see it very well there. The writing is backwards, but anyway, fun facts every day, and every month you will wake up to a new moth or butterfly. How amazing is that? So I will put a link to this calendar if you would like to buy it down in the description below. And also a link to Bart's Etsy web shop as well, where he sells all sorts of amazing moth-based and butterfly-based items. Absolutely wonderful. But anyway, let's get into the main focus of the video and talk about the death's head hawk moth. So, with all that being said, let's crack on and talk about the death's head hawk moths. So, the death's head hawk moth, Acherontia atropos, sometimes also available is the Acherontia styx, which is another species of death's head hawk moth. They are one of the most popular moths in the moth breeding hobby, and for very good reason as well. Absolutely gorgeous moths, super big, have a wingspan of up to 14 centimetres. However, these two are both males, so have a slightly smaller wingspan, about 11 or 12 centimetres. They are super fuzzy with huge eyes, so they look super cute as well, if a moth could ever look cute. I think all moths look cute. Not everyone agrees with me, but I think they do, and death's head hawk moths are particularly cute moths. They have an awesome skull marking on their thorax, and it's so interesting and easy to rear them and see all their different life stages. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about all the different life stages of this wonderful species of moth. So let's get started. So, starting with the eggs of the death's head hawk moth, I kept the eggs in something like this, just a thin, transparent, airtight plastic box. You could also use something a little bit smaller. The eggs themselves and the newly hatched caterpillars are super, super tiny, so they won't mind being kept in an airtight box smaller than this. The eggs like to be kept fairly dry, so there's no need to spray them or mist them. Keep them on a bit of kitchen roll in the bottom of the container, or a bit of toilet roll, just something to absorb any moisture. And the airtight boxes are the best because they stop any moisture evaporating and drying the eggs out. So eggs will hatch in 7 to 10 days depending on temperature. If kept slightly cooler at maybe 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, they may take about 10 days to hatch. If kept warmer, about 22 to 24 degrees Celsius, which is the optimum, they can hatch in as little as a week. The first instar caterpillars you can keep also in boxes this size. I wouldn't go anything smaller though. It depends how many you have. If you have more, you might have to use something larger, but something like this should be fine for 20 to 30 newly hatched death's head hawk moth caterpillars. They can be raised on a variety of food plants. Privet in captivity works wonders. It's readily available if you're in UK or the rest of Europe. Easy to find in hedges, even in your garden. Privet works really well. Ash also works well, and potato and tomato leaves as well. Not the actual potatoes or tomatoes, just the leaves of the plants can work well. But you have to make sure, as with rearing all moths and butterflies, the food plant you've chosen is not contaminated with pesticides or insecticides or anything that may harm the long-term development of the moth. So, eggs in there. What about the later stages? So, after feeding for about another week, the newly hatched death's head hawk moth caterpillars will be ready to molt into second instar. And second instar is when you need to put them in a bigger container. So, for me personally, I just use a cricket tub. Cricket tubs work really well. They've got air holes to make it slightly more ventilated. Moths tend to like their environment more ventilated as they grow older. But a Browplast tub like this also works really well. It's got a clear lid, easily removed. Put the food plant in there, keep the caterpillars in there, all nice and happy. The caterpillars themselves in the first and second instar, they can be kept in airtight boxes up until the second instar. They don't mind having no ventilation, as the caterpillars themselves are so tiny they use hardly any oxygen whatsoever, so just opening the lid to replace food plant will be more than sufficient for them. So, second instar, kept in one of these two, something similar to that. No need to spray them again. Keep some kitchen roll on the bottom. You can either stand the box up like that. Upright works well because the caterpillars like to rest on the upright stems of the food plant. Put some kitchen roll on the bottom to keep it nice and clean and absorb any excess moisture, and they'll be nice and happy. Keep the food plant fresh every day works well. Fresh food plant every day and you should have happy caterpillars. So, moving on to the third instar. So, when in third instar, which is about 2 to 3 weeks after hatching from eggs, the caterpillars do prefer a more ventilated environment. So, mesh enclosures work really well. For third instar, the caterpillars are still fairly small, measuring only about 3 or 4 centimetres in length. So, a mesh enclosure about that big works really well. In here, I have some Madagascan bullseye moth caterpillars, which I'm rearing. But you can have death's head hawk moths in there as well. Again, no need to spray them. The food plant can be kept in small pots of water, just make sure that the caterpillars can't drown, or it can be wrapped in damp kitchen paper, which helps to keep them fresh for a little bit longer. Temperature for the caterpillars do prefer warm temperatures. The moths themselves are native to Africa and southern Europe, so they do like a more Mediterranean, arid sort of climate. Temperatures around 22 to 26 degrees work well for all life stages. However, being a migratory species, the moths do migrate northwards to Northern Europe and also the UK every year, so they can tolerate a temperate environment pretty well. So temperatures down to 18 degrees also work okay, although the caterpillars might just grow a little bit slower and eat a little bit less, but they shouldn't be harmed in the long term. They should still turn out to be amazing moths. So, later stages. So I have here a fourth instar death's head hawk moth caterpillar and a fairly new fifth instar death's head hawk moth caterpillar on there, and when they get to this life stage they need to be kept in something larger. So if I can pop this open, so a 30 by 30 by, I think this is 30 by 30 by 60 centimetre mesh enclosure, really big, can't really show you the size, but yeah, one of those big ones can be kept in there beautifully. So the stems of food plant here, they are feeding on privet, can be kept in pots of water. Again, make sure that the caterpillars can't drown. Kept in the bottom of the net. Again, kitchen roll, although that's optional. No need to spray the caterpillars. Room humidity and room temperature work really well. And kept in there. Feed for a few days. They do eat a lot at this stage. I did replace the food with these a few days ago, so they haven't eaten so much on this stem, but they've demolished pretty much every other stem. This isn't the net that they're in. Obviously, they're in a different net. But if I'm honest with you, I'm embarrassed to show it on camera because it's pretty dirty, so that's why I've got a new one here. So they will feed, once they are fifth instar, they will feed for maybe another 10 to 14 days, so up to another 2 weeks, getting bigger and bigger. The caterpillars do reach about 13 or 14 centimetres in length, so they do get huge. Female caterpillars generally get a little bit larger than males, although it's not really possible to tell males and females apart quite so easily when they are at the caterpillar stage. So they do get huge. The caterpillars at this stage, as you can see, are extremely beautiful. Can't really get a great angle in there, but absolutely beautiful. They are usually a bright yellow colour with bluish purple stripes, diagonal stripes down each segment, and a curly granular tail horn at the end there as well. The caterpillars also do have a brown form, which isn't too rare. about 1 in 10 caterpillars are the brown form. If you've seen my life cycle video, the short 4-minute one of these moths, you'll notice that one of those later insect caterpillars is the brown form, and that is perfectly normal. The moths will turn out to look the same no matter what caterpillar or what colour form the caterpillar is. But I just find them absolutely incredible. Look at them. Beautiful. So, when they are fully fed, when they are big, they will stop eating, and you may notice that they are wandering around in the net. They might darken in colour. This is known as pre-pupal camouflage, because at this stage they are about to pupate. So they do tend to like to go down into soil to pupate, so I generally put them in a tub of dirt, fill the tub about 10 to 15 centimetres deep with dirt, and the caterpillars will burrow down there. They will stay down there in the caterpillar form for about a week before actually shedding their skin one last time to become a pupa. The caterpillars can also just be kept in a tub with some kitchen roll. They'll also go under the kitchen roll, and you can see them turn into pupa better. It's best to leave them put, though, for the pupa to harden up for about 2 weeks after they initially burrow to pupate. Once you've dug them up, though, you can have a look at the pupa. Digging them up won't harm the pupas so long as you're gentle. You can keep them in room temperature, nice and warm, on a bit of kitchen roll in a mesh enclosure, ready for emergence. And at a warm temperature, they won't hibernate, they won't overwinter. In the wild, they do overwinter as pupae, but if kept above 18 or 20 degrees, they will eventually hatch. It takes about a month for them to hatch in most temperatures to the adult form. And the adult form, if I can take this one off my nose, absolutely wonderful. I'll get some close-up shots of them as well. But they're absolutely wonderful moths. So after about a month of being in the pupal form, they will emerge. And they're absolutely stunning. The moths themselves live for about a month, sorry. Most moths, well, not most moths, a lot of moths in captivity, especially the silk moths, don't have mouth parts, so can't feed, so the adults of those will only live about a week. Death's-head hawk moths do have a short proboscis, a short tongue, and they will use that to eat honey in the wild, sneak into beehives, and in captivity you can give them honey water. So, because they feed, the moths will live a little bit longer than other moths. They can live up to a month, maybe sometimes more as well. These are about a week and a half old. They're still beautifully marked, still got the scales on there. They are going a little bit tatty on the bottom of the wing. That's to be expected because they do flap around every night. So the moths, you can keep them either free roaming in your house if you don't mind, and if you don't have too many spiders or cats about like me who might eat them. Or the moths similarly can be kept in a large enclosure like this. I wouldn't keep more than 5 moths in a enclosure that big. Oh, having a flap about here. They do squeak as well. You might have heard that actually. They do actually squeak as moths. But look at that. They're absolutely beautiful. So right now he's warming up his flight muscles, ready to fly off. But because they're so big, it takes them a couple of minutes to warm up, ready to fly away. But look at him. He's absolutely amazing. So the moths, to feed them, it's best to wait about 4 days after they hatch to feed, because they don't really have much of an interest in food when they first emerge. 4 days after they hatch, though, you can feed them. The moths, though, don't have the natural cues to feed in captivity, so if you just give them honey mixed with water and just leave them to it, they won't actually eat. So what you actually have to do is very gently, actually if I have an example here, very gently grab them by their thorax, it won't hurt them so long as you're gentle, and use a cocktail stick to unfurl the proboscis and stick it into the pot of honey water. I'm actually going to feed these to show you how I do that as well. And they should sit there either still or quietly buzzing to themselves, warming their flight muscles happily for a minute or two while they feed. And you can feed them every 2 or 3 days. I did feed them yesterday, but I'll try again, see if they want to feed today, because they were quite active last night. But they're absolutely... I just love them. They're not the most brightly coloured of moths, but what they lack in colour, they certainly make up for in pure gorgeousness. Skull marking on the back there. They're amazing. Anyway, let's get them fed. So here I have about a 50-50 mix of honey with water. I'm going to take the one who's not buzzing his wings about And he might squeak, but here he is. Absolutely amazing. So what you've got to do is, it might wriggle a bit, but hold them very gently between your fingers and then use the cocktail stick to gently unfurl that proboscis. So there we go, he's happily feeding now on that honey water. You can see that unfurled proboscis there. He probably won't feed for too long because he did eat yesterday. Which is absolutely, how amazing is that? And this other one is still warming up his flight muscles. So we'll finish the video on two lovely death's head hawk moths warming up their flight muscles. If you haven't tried to rear these species before, definitely go for it. It's definitely worth it because they're absolutely amazing. And he's going to go now. There he goes. I'll have to find him in a bit. But anyway, that'll be the end of this video. So if you did enjoy it, do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And moths and other amazing mini beasts, marvellous mini beasts should I say, are your thing. And we'll see you on the next one.